With the trade deadline nearing, it has gotten us kind of hyped up about some potential moves the San Francisco 49ers can make. And Maxx Crosby is a name that is mentioned early and often by 49er fans. And I've actually kind of pushed back. I'm like, yeah, I just don't know if that's going to happen. But after watching this interview today of Maxx Crosby talking about his future with the Raiders, it's got me thinking a little bit more about it. Take a look at Maxx Crosby as he talks about his future with the Raiders.
I'm not here to rebuild. I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now. And wherever I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be here to win. So that's all that matters to me.
That right there, that is the sound of a man who is over the Raiders organization. As you guys know, he is like best friends with Devontae Adams. Like they are literally they call themselves twin. Like they are great friends, best friends. And we saw what happened with Devontae Adams. And when this whole situation with, that Antonio Pierce coming out and saying some players made business decisions, I do think Maxx Crosby was one of those players because he's so closely tied to Devontae Adams. And those are like two of your alpha leaders in the locker room. And when you listen to that clip, it sounds like Maxx Crosby doesn't have any interest in playing for the Raiders, as it sounds like he's like, man, I'm not doing no rebuild. I'm not here to retool. I'm here to win. And the Raiders aren't ready to win, not even close. They're absolutely heading for a rebuild. They're probably going to try to draft a quarterback high and early. And we understand that just, you could get a good quarterback early, but it typically takes some time, especially when your whole roster is kind of in disarray, to be able to have success. So when you listen to Maxx Crosby talk about it, he wants to win now. And that makes you think about, well, what teams are in win now mode? San Francisco 49ers are one of them. Now, the reasons I've pushed back on the Maxx Crosby situation is because I just don't see the 49ers and Raiders ever completing a trade together. I've talked about it. The 49ers had famously offered a better deal to the Raiders when they were in Oakland for Khalil Mack than the Bears were, but did. And, Mark Davis didn't want to send Khalil Mack to Bay Area rival in the 49ers. So he took the lesser deal from the Bears in order to basically spite the 49ers. And so the 49ers were very aggressive in trying to get Khalil Mack. And because of Mark Davis, it wasn't successful. So part of my pushback has been, I don't think that he would do it this time either. I do know we heard that the 49ers called on Jacoby Myers, so there was a conversation that was had about potentially trading for Jacoby Myers. That got shot down by the Raiders. The 49ers have, I think, reached out to the Raiders a couple times about potential trades for players, and just nothing has ever come to fruition. So that has kind of been my pushback on like really trying to get anyone's hopes up of like, ooh, maybe we could go and target Maxx Crosby. Maybe this is a real option, because I don't know if it is. And even so, with him saying this, I don't know if any of that changes, but it really does make me feel like that Maxx Crosby is done with the Raiders, which means he absolutely could be throwing his hat into the ring for a potential trade. It sounds like he wants to play for a team that is going to be competing. And what other team could be considered? Obviously, he has been tied to the Detroit Lions after they lost their star pass rusher. So that could absolutely be a thing. But I don't know. Although it's not a super likely option, in my opinion, I do think that obviously you think about it, right? You start to like daydream and you start to think of Maxx Crosby and Nick Bosa playing across from each other, and you're like, okay, that might be fun. But you think about he's going to carry a big cap hit. He's also going to carry a big dead cap hit for the Raiders. So for the Raiders to make that move, it does feel like they have to get a pretty high level compensation. He's not a player like Devontae Adams. Now, while Devontae Adams is still considered one of the best, he's also considered to be on basically the last leg of his career. So I think that's why you didn't have teams bending over backwards to pay for the services of Devontae Adams. They just weren't willing to do that. Whereas Max Crosby's a different beast. He is in the prime of his career. He is arguably probably top 3, top 4, top 5 pass rusher in the league right now. And you get that on the other side of Nick Bosa, and obviously that changes a lot of things. But got me thinking. Like, oh well, what could it be? And again, I'm not a big fan of trading players that are currently on the team, just because you get into hypotheticals. I do expect Leonard Floyd to stick around, but like if you think about it, you could potentially, if they needed a pass rusher in return, you could send Leonard Floyd, potentially a draft pick or two. Um, Again, just thinking out loud. And then maybe something to consider. I still think extremely unlikely and extremely doubtful that this happens. And again, is why I'm even hesitant of even mentioning Leonard Floyd, because again, I don't want to come across as disrespect to the player that I'm trying to trade him away. But again, I'm just thinking like, man, if you actually get the thumbs up from Mark Davis, is like, yeah, we'll trade him to the 49ers for the right price. Well, then what's the right price then? Can we come to something? Could we figure what that compensation would be? The 49ers do have the highest cap space in the league right now. Now, it is imagined that they're using that to roll over into next year because you can roll cap over. So that's kind of the thought process. But man, if you're really interested in putting your chips into the center of the table, and we've seen that the 49ers are more than aggressive, and I think they didn't, they got Chase Young, they got Randy Gregory. Maxx Crosby's a completely different animal. You get Maxx Crosby, you got probably instantly the best defensive line in the NFL, even if you have injuries to your guys on the interior, just because those two guys are so dominant and to be playing on the same defensive line. So again, I really haven't been one to hype up this situation with Maxx Crosby. I've been kind of more of a Zizo Ojulari type target guy, but after watching that video, it does seem like Max could absolutely be out of there. And if that's the case, man, you got to pick up the phone and just see. So, what do you think? Do you think this changes anything? Do you think that video changes anything? Do you think I'm overreacting to this? Do you think I probably shouldn't be talking about this? I don't know. I want to know from you guys because, again, I really have kind of pushed back on the Maxx Crosby thing, but seeing him, he doesn't look like he's hiding anything. He looks like a guy who wants out. So I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.